Welcome to episode 24 of our board game podcast, A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. I'm your host, Eddie, and joining me as my co-host, a crabby man who is learning the pinchy ways of crustacean life as he nips and scuttles towards a new crabtivating role, whilst always upholding the claw and restraining himself from getting clammy. Gaz. See, tired, Gaz.
Hello, hi guys. I feel like that's the best one yet. Like, I don't think we should do this bit anymore. Like, you've absolutely nailed it.
I'm surprised I nailed it in one go as well, because the spelling mistakes in that, because Google Docs was just like, that's not a word, that's not a word, that's not a word, and it kept auto-changing it.
Yep. So clearly you didn't get any work done at work today because you were writing that.
Oh, literally about 10 minutes ago before we started.
Yeah. You see, this is it. All this practice of naming the episodes. By the way, anyone who hasn't paid attention to the names of the episodes, please do, because Daddy puts a lot of hard work into it. Gets very little recognition, and most of them have been really good.
Yeah, look, it started off obviously with the cold theme that was happening, and I was running very low on like ideas. And then it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And then I started doing it about maybe the level or the situation or what the episode was about. And these days, once I've uploaded the episode, and you get a little bar uploading the episode and adding your details, I sit there and my cursor's on the name, and I'm just sitting there racking my brain. And I'm trying to at least maintain some kind of creativity with it, but it's a stumper.
I feel like in RPGs, that's where I get stuck as well, even though I recycle the same like 3 or 4 names through everything. But I almost feel you should be able to name your character like 25% of the way into the game, because then you get a feel for it, right? Yeah. And you know what that... Yeah.
Well, it's like the Drifter. I retired the Drifter and I don't even know what his name was. I wrote something down. Drifter. It was something like that. But yeah, I mean, and now I got Bumpy. Have you named your coral, by the way?
Yeah, Sebastian. Under the sea.
Okay, every single time we enter a scenario and you place it on your starting location, I will make sure that little pyro goes off and you have to sing Under the Sea as your entrance music.
I will say Under the Sea and do a little dance.
Oh, sorry, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So on today's show, we're actually going to cover scenario 33, the Thawed Wood. Right, and this was the one that Pinter wanted us to go to because cold, right? This is the whole reason that if we did this earlier, maybe the Geminate would have stayed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's your fault who left, because you just kept making us go cold places.
I don't decide where we go.
Well, you're 25% of the decision.
No, you've got the campaign sheets. You're deciding where we're going. You're giving us the options and then saying, I really want to do this. I really want to hit robots. I really want to do all this. And we just follow you.
No, don't make it like I'm the party leader. I'm laying out the options. These are the things that we can do. What do we want to do? And then we go, oh, let's go the storyline. Yeah, let's get back on track with the storyline. And then we do one mission. And it's like, wait 5 weeks.
Yeah, well, the storyline keeps getting time gated.
Yeah,
it's the way of gaming these days. Everything's time gated, especially if it's free. This isn't free.
Yep. We should have got the battle pass.
No.
Yeah, you should be supplying us with a battle pass, being the host.
I am. It's your perk and XP and prosperity. They're all
that's
little
not a
checks.
battle pass.
Every time you log in, we get a little tick, right? Well, we're not
and cosmetics.
Really. No cosmetics. Have you painted your coral yet?
No, and I left it at your place.
That's right.
So it remains unpainted for 1 more week.
That's right. So today, we do scenario 33. And yeah, we'll just jump straight into it. We had a road event.
Yeah, and I actually do remember this one 100%. Yeah. So why don't you tell us what you thought about it, Daddy?
So money was exchanged for goods and or services?
No, there was no money and or services, and goods were not plentiful.
Was there robots? I legit don't remember.
So this was another one that I think we spoke about this when we did the robot adventure, that we got a really cool thematic road event as we were coming in to fight robots. So it was like, oh, that's cool. We're going to robot land and we got a robot road event. This, again, fit really well with where we were going. So we went into a forest maze, essentially, and we had to make a decision whether we thought we would like trust our instincts, I think it was, or try and figure it out, something along those lines.
Oh yeah, now that rings a bell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay. Because
yeah,
I was
we.
thinking like I was thinking this is a keyword one, like resourceful
I
or
think it
something like
was,
that.
wasn't it?
That was chaotic.
They don't say the answer.
Cool. I'll just bleep that out.
Spoilers. But it was a keyword one. But that's
Yeah.
what it was. But it was cool because again, it was like you head deeper into this forest, and we're like, oh, that's where we're going. And again, I actually thought that I was like, oh, we're just doing the mission, and then you're like, decision. Oh wait, this is a red event. That's cool.
How much of this though is like that whole lining up kind of thing versus, I mean, how many of so many of them are going to be outside heading down a path. Oh, we're also on a path heading towards the scenario. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
No, I
it's a forest one, and yeah, we're in the forest. So
Well, like for example, when we were meeting old mate who was begging by the side of the road, right? Like, that's not a forest event. That's just like a side of the road event. So I'm sure there's been plenty of them. But yes, you are correct. I'm sure there are more than one that line up with going into a forest.
okay, good.
But yeah,
So relatively, I forgot what we got out of it, but we got something exciting out of that one, I think.
yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah. Okay. I think it might have been in the scenario.
Oh yeah, we did. We unlocked something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. All right. So yeah, on the way to now this is another Pinter scenario, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Pinter's
This
actually
is,
not just doing mountain highway patrol. He's also now sending us to do warmth.
yeah. This is the time gated boat adventures in Crabland. So remember
So
the
this is actually
last.
part of the locust train, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Because this was
Ah.
the last one that we did where all the lurkers and stuff busted into our ship and broke it.
Hmm.
Remember, it was like, oh, you can't sail it, and so depending on how badly you do at the scenario, that depends on how many weeks you got to wait.
Right.
Um, and so we've gone back to him and gone like, hey, our ship got broken, and he's just like, oh, okay, cool. Hey, I can build you a submarine, and we're like, oh, yeah, that's what we asked for. And he's like, oh, but it's not. It's going to be too cold. We're like, oh, okay, that seems. He's like, but I can build a heater with this sun thing that's clearly in this forest. Go get it. So yeah,
Yeah, okay. So we are making our way towards a water level, like an actual underwater level.
oh, I guess so.
Oh, if we're making a
Yeah,
submarine, right?
well, yeah, maybe you get out in the submarine and it's like a land.
Well, hasn't Isaac learned anything from water expansions and water levels in games? They're like,
Yeah, like there's literally like 30 years worth of
yeah,
data that says don't do a water adventure.
water temple in Ocarina of Time. The Ninja Turtles water level.
Terrible.
Do you remember that? The original
Oh, that
NES
was
one?
disgusting. That was gross. Like I feel like that's what I should give my kids anytime they want anything that I don't want to give them. It's like, yeah, just do this level, right? Like I'll just have it saved on a
That's a
ROM.
bit
I'm
rude.
like,
That's a
do
bit
this
harsh.
level. If you can complete this level, you can have the thing that you want.
That's super
And I will
harsh.
never have to give my kids anything ever.
No.
The jet ski level in Battletoads, not the first one, but the second
I was
one.
about to say Battletoads, and I was like, no, that wasn't water. But was there one with water?
I'm pretty sure this second jet ski one was dumb as well.
Right. Well, it sounds
Um,
horrendous.
Trials of Atlantis, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
won't say
yeah.
what game that is. And then
Guardians of
anyone
Formula
who
One.
recognizes it, oh, see what you're giving all these
Oh, I
things
can't help
away.
it. It's
You
just,
can
it's
stop saying
impulsive
them. Just don't use the words. Or just edit yourself out.
of the whole thing.
Yes, that's it. But yes, so this I believe is the piece. It's hard to tell a little bit because on our little calendar thing, we've got so many jammed in there. There was like I think 3 or 4 weeks that all have things written on it. One of them has two written on it.
Hmm.
So like it's kind of hard to work out what's linked to what.
That's my only issue is like working out what came from what.
What quest chain? Yeah, but I'm pretty sure this is. So this will unlock the rest of the lurker chain,
Right. Okay.
which is cool because I'm a crab. So
Yeah, but
I just be like,
waythrowers.
follow me, guys, under the sea.
Yeah. Well,
Life
we'll
is
have
better
a little
under the
chat
sea.
about crab life.
Under the sea.
Yeah, under the sea, under the sea.
Yeah.
So we head towards scenario 33, and our scenario goal was to the scenario is complete when 3 radiant stones have been found. At the end of that round, read a thing. Which actually from the very get-go looked kind of cool. What were your thoughts on those kind of wordings? Like when it's saying something like, you know, when 3 radiant stones have been found. Because my immediate thought was stand on like a token of some kind at the end of your turn, pick it up, and then, I don't know, flip it over, and if it's a thing, you found one.
It sounds cool, but then I've kind of got like nightmares of scenario 14, where it was like stand next to this thing for 10 rounds. Is that the right scenario?
That's yeah. You're right. I mean, that sounds like because we need 3 of these things, so maybe it's stand next to 3 of these things for 10 rounds.
10 rounds, yeah, exactly. But no, it sounded cool. It was like, oh, yeah, and I can't remember what the starting room was.
Well, the starting room was like a little bend, and it had 3 shriek fiends, which was really kind of exciting to get out again because we hadn't seen these guys since they used to be Yetis.
Yeah,
a long time ago. Actually,
and Mark hadn't fought them before, so
no.
he didn't have the horrors of them.
And what's interesting now, Big Brain piecing this together, it was the Lurker Crab quest chain where we first met the Shriek Fiends on the bridges, and then the Raven's Roost, which by the way is right next. If you look at the map, Raven's Roost, scenario 13, where the Shriek Fiends and the Yetis became the Shriek Fiends, is actually right next to 33.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because it kind of it's along the same lines as the Lurker chain, but then it kind of goes off to the side. Because the Lurker chain goes and you need the boat, right, to get it any further. But then it's like, oh, if you don't have a boat, you can just go this way instead, and then that's where it goes to the forest. So, that's cool. Yeah, well, we had forgotten about them, and then we remembered that they do things that we don't like.
Yes. Well,
which they did, like the very first turn.
Well, Fortello actually played out the you know, you've come into the Radiant Forest and it's anything but radiant, right? They actually mentioned it's the opposite. It's quite dark and dingy and scary and spooky and all that kind of stuff.
Apparently it's really hot.
Yeah, super hot. Yeah. Which is a refreshing change. Oh yeah. Yeah, actually we went to Queensland. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, maybe Darwin.
Yeah, we went exactly. We got out of our plane and then we're just suddenly sweaty because the humidity is 10,000%.
And the Shriek Fiends actually decided to talk to us again. But
yeah, they do that heaps, don't they?
They were from Texas or something?
Yes. Yeah,
they were super country-ish. They were like, get out of our town or something.
Which is kind of like Queensland.
Yeah,
I hope we're not offending anyone from Queensland. I better stop talking about Queensland.
Fuck Queensland. Actually, no, we have listeners in Queensland. We need to be nice to Queensland.
Yeah, we love you, Queensland.
But yeah, we had the 3 Shriek Fiends, and we actually had Black Imps. So we hadn't seen Black Imps in well, yet, really.
Yeah, and the Black Imps are interesting because I remember seeing Phil doing his solo scenario. I didn't get to see him do it, but I was told what monsters were in it, and he said Black Imps, and I hated Black Imps in Gloomhaven because there's a couple of scenarios that were just gross in, and so I remember like, that sucks. So that's so shit. And then like you're putting the Shriek Fiends on, then you put them on. I'm like,
because I never took them out from the solo scenario. I never took them out of the standees. I just left them and then started putting them on the map. And you were like, wait,
I was like, hey, no, this is a joke, right? And you're like, no, they're in this. I'm like, oh no, I hate these guys. I just finished giving Phil shit about it. So
yeah, so we started off in this room, and we had 3 of them. Now we had 3 of them, 3 of these Shriek Fiends at the front. Midway through, we have 3 Black Imps towards the rear end of the room, knowing that they're going to be ranged and whatnot. And they actually use the Imp deck; they just don't have brittle on them, right? Which is
cool do they use the Imp deck?
Yeah, they use the Imp deck.
Oh, here we go, Big Brain Isaac.
Yeah,
all Imps are the same, except that they've got different things on their cards. Okay. Yep.
So there was that, and then there were 2 juicy damage and wound traps right next to the door.
Which, let's just stop for just 2 seconds. The adjectives you would use to describe these traps drastically changes between when you're playing a character that can push and pull things into traps, in which case they're juicy, they're tender, they're like delicious, right? Versus if you were playing a drifter, you're like, oh man, we have to run through those stupid things.
Yeah, and I would jump over them. But this time, no, I saw those things and I lit up. I was so excited because I was going to try the push-pull snowflake again because I wasn't quite feeling it. And boy, did I feel it. But not without a few problems. So right from the get-go, we got ready, we was putting our stuff out, and we tried to explain to Mark all the way, you don't want to position your stuff at the front because these Shriek Fiends, by the way, have a card where they're going to basically, everything within range 5, they're going to pull towards them and then do 2 damage. And there's 3 of them in this room. And lo and behold, that's what they did. They started off doing their standard Shriek Fiend stuff, which in a way was kind of cool because it meant we didn't have to move much because they brought us closer. All right, so they've all brought us closer. There's also a giant 3-tile tree in this room for some reason.
Oh, it's such an annoying tree.
That caused this 3-tile corridor to go down to 1.
Oh, so, yeah. And like later on, that just became like the Congo line of death. Like I just couldn't get past. I was like, excuse me, can I just get
Skelly number 3 was in front of you, and in front of it was Skelly number 1, and then in front of it was another guy. I think it was me.
It was just
So we got pulled and we took some damage. Mark lost, a skeleton, and that's always rough. Shriek Fiends and Bone Shaper, a little bit on the rough side. And all I could do, it was the first round was just play, your prep cards, Phil's prepping and all of that. All I could think about was, how do I get these guys into the traps? And it became not just a push and pull scenario or decision-making process. I had to work out what was pushing one tile away because it's so deceptive when it's visual where you could push something and it's like, well, that's actually not one tile away. So it's all about angles to work out to determine when it's one away. And this was the biggest lesson that I had to learn, is that I had to actually, and I was getting frustrated because I was like, So anyway, I finally had it sorted out. And I played now. Snowflake has an initiative card of 11. And this was it. And I put myself right in the middle of all of them just so I could push this guy through 2 traps, and it was going to be bled. And he would have survived, but it would have put him on 1 health. And then, but they were immune to wound. I have to find out later. Actually, that was really rude. And they pull their initiative 10. So I rolled 11 in order to pull this elite. I'm between the 2 normals and the elite, and they pull their 10. So they went before me, and this is the part where all my dreams get shattered. And I think I single-handedly almost fucked the scenario for all of us. Because I was in such a bad state that I was going to end up discarding cards, which then made us, the little rain cloud of restart would have started floating around our heads. Like, look, we're in the first room. Maybe we should restart this.
Yeah.
Or because of my terrible positioning. Like, I went too aggro.
Yeah, and we can reflect on that and say that poor decisions were made.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I was incredibly narrow-sighted. There was just one thing I needed to get off, and it was this. I didn't care how much damage I took. Now, I did cop a beating, but Gaz actually saved me, and so did Phil. Right?
Yeah, we had Phil changed what he was doing, and he hit something else, and there was a couple of combinations.
Everyone changed their plan for me.
Yeah, and we saved heaps of damage. So,
and you stunned someone.
Okay. Yeah, I stunned someone.
That's the first stun we've done.
Yeah, I know. I've got a stun kind of on command. I need light for it, but at least it's not a burn.
So they basically protected me. The following round what happened, I threw him into the trap. That's all I wanted to say. It took me 3 rounds, but I got there and I threw everything into the trap. This guy went twice into the trap, ended up on 1 health. I felt good. Clear the traps. I mean, Gaz has been doing this for scenarios. I haven't been able to do this. We don't have a trapper or anything like that. So this was perfect for me. What was I going to say? Oh, this is also the room where the 2 Shriek Friends at the front, one was on 2 health, one was on 4 health, and they had the elite that I was focusing on. None of them were dying. It was like looking around, like, who's going to kill? Mark was stuck with his skeletons. He couldn't really move very much. You're a crab. And Phil was prepping more, like not ready. So there was like 1 on 2 health, and everyone's turning to me and they said, why, can you kill that one? And I was like, no. Like, no. I can't. So no one ended up killing these things, which meant they stayed alive a little bit longer than they should have.
Yeah. Yeah, that room was weird. I think everyone was trying to do too much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like it was because the imps aren't really doing that much. Like they're annoying and they poison you and stuff like that. The elite Shriek Fiend was kind of too far away to do much. unless we kind of moved up. But you know, it's one of those things that you look and go, okay, if we just hammer into these two here, we can probably kill them in the first round, if not at least by the second round.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. They were up for ages.
Yeah. And the person who's playing a support needed everyone else to play a support for that round because everyone else was helping me. And look,
That's right. Everyone gets one. Everyone gets one.
Yeah.
So.
I feel very bad. And at the same time, like that's the reason Mark couldn't get in, because in my positioning of trying to organize this push lineup, etc., I was blocking the tree, the only pathway. So we had skeletons in the way. Mark was playing cards and going, well, you know, that's all I can do. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I feel so bad. And Gaz is at the very back of the line. I can't even hear him. He's so far back.
I was just doing click, 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 click,
Just doing little claps.
Yeah.
So we cleared the traps, and then, you know, I felt bad. I thought it was only my duty with my move to be the first person to open this door. And we open the door and we plop a big fat tile. And this is the part that I'm a little bit dismayed by, especially because this room felt good. Despite the hiccups that we already had, we always seem to have them. It felt good and like, cool. We get to move through, solve the puzzle, kill these guys, next room. And we put this giant one out, and all I can see on the app, right, in the book, is all of these A's. A, all over the place. And I was just like, at first I just was like, there's letters everywhere. And then there's a B in the middle. And then I took a bit more time to have a look at it properly, and there were all the letter A. And I was like, okay. And the rule box is like this big. So I was just like, oh, it was so deflating.
That's one of the things that you said before we'd opened it up, because on the app, it's got just the room you are and then space. And there was a big chunk of like the unrevealed part. And we were kind of like, I wonder if this is going to be like a go to lots of different rooms to get all these things, or it's going to be one big one. And you were like, look, as long as it's not a giant purple box of text, then we're all good. Because, and then Mark's like, wow, what does that mean? Oh, because that means there's heaps of rules. Yeah. And then you're like, all right, click. So it's this reasonable sized room, and here the giant purple box of text. I'm like, great, cool. So that's, yeah. And I think this is one of those ones that we had to read it 5 times to actually work out which words were in it, then look at it, and then kind of figure it out and go to the end condition and then go back to the rule. So it made sense by the end, but like it wasn't a read once, yeah, cool, I know what we're doing.
No, but ultimately they were talking about how all these tiles everywhere, there's 12 of them, they're all the numbered tokens from Frosthaven from 1 to 12, and you flip one, you spawn either an earth demon or a flame demon at either odd or even numbers, and then, you know, the number dictates a triangulation of where one of the radiant stones are. And you go to an area within range where where 3 stones range overlap, and then you can forego a top card to pick it up. And once you picked up 3 of these things, and I had, like you said, I was reading out the rules as slowly as I could, and I wasn't getting any of it. But every time I read it, I was like looking around like, I hope someone's following this. And everyone did. Like, you were very quick to sort of piece it together. And then I needed it explained to me, like in complete dumbass terms, because I hated it.
Yeah, but no. But that happens when you're reading, because you're focusing on reading and making sure the words are coming out. Like
That's true.
I'm sitting there hearing
I have
key
fluffed
pieces.
words before, like a keyword.
You have what?
I've fluffed like keywords before.
Oh yeah, and that's all part of it. Like it's as silly as it sounds, it's kind of like a group activity to work out how it all worked. And part of that was you reading and us hearing the words, and there was, because then you'd read a bit and then be like, okay, now go back to that other part, because it's like, okay, I've got a piece. Can you go read the start part? Because now and then putting it together. So yeah, I don't stress about that.
He's got my back. Even after all the shit I give him, he's got my back. Like, that's a true friend. True friend. So I open the door, we read the rules, we get an idea of what's going on. Everyone explains it to me. We're all on the same page. Now, the other thing is there's a B tile in the middle of the room that's going to spawn an elite Black Imp every round. So it's kind of like, cool, we have an unlimited spawn situation, but this was going to have a little bit more control. This is what I loved about this, is once it explained to me, and in my head I was like, oh, like the kombucha meme. And I was just like, ooh, I kind of like this, because you're in control. We decide how fast we go. Obviously, we kind of can't take too long because you got your timer right there in the middle when we eventually get overwhelmed. But the idea that, you know, go over, flip this over, deal with the mob, go next one, flip it one over, deal with the mob, and then it really there was an element of RNG underneath the tiles, but that was mitigated in the special rules because you can move these things around by foregoing, I think, a bottom action or something like that. So it was really interesting, and we all went into the room. Now Phil went in.
He got wrecked.
He went in, and it was like, should I stand on? I think he pop the first rune.
Yeah,
because he ended up next to an earth demon.
Yeah, because you opened the door and moved in, and then it was his turn, and he had like 2 movement, and we're like, well, you may as well land on that one and spawn the first monster so we know what it is and we can start fighting it. And then he spawned it, and then it hit him
and immobilized him.
And immobilized him, and then it went really early and hit him again, and we were still trying to hit it, and then it hit, and he's like, I'm just throwing cards out, and then I'm pretty sure the imps came up and hit him as well. That went from this is probably not the best thing to I think I'm gonna exhaust soon.
He got immobilized like 3 turns in a row.
Oh, it was
He was stuck there, and his mood shifted. Like he just not having a good time.
Yeah, jovial. I've got this in 3 turns. Don't worry, everything's gonna die. Phil was gone, and it was back to I mean, I guess having cards is overrated, right? That Phil. So
yeah. So we started to move in and save Phil. Phil got to 1 health at some stage. I did pop a heal on him and a regen on him, which was nice. That regen actually ticked for a long time.
Oh, yeah, he went back up to full.
Yeah. And, we kind of split up a little bit. Now, this is really, really cool because we have a Bone Shaper who's got a lot in the poison reflection, card.
Stink Cloud thing.
And just the fact, he's also got some new card. I don't know if he did it, where he absolutely decimates himself, but he spawns 2.
I think he did that just before we're going into the room. That was one of the things that made the Congo line even bigger. It's like, imagine being in a Congo line, but then you can just make 2 humans like spawn in the line, and it makes the person at the back even further away from the front. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so what was really cool is Mark set it up in such a way that these guys, was controlling them in such a way that they were going to go and sit near the imp spawn, and their whole job was just to deal with the imps. It was brilliant. Because every time one spawned up, it was just Necro Army going nuts on them, which allowed us to control when we were popping on runes and spawning what and how we were going to deal with them. And then when we started to pop some of I think it was the odd-numbered ones, we started getting the Flame Demons. Now, these ones we hadn't seen in Frosthaven yet, but we just knew it was like large shield. Like, these are the mobs that I was talking about a few episodes ago, where I was like, I just want some of these big, beefy, scary ones we're a little bit scared of. The Earth ones have 20 health at our difficulty. They had 20. And these other ones had more like 7, but they had like 4 shield. So, and we didn't have a Drifter anymore with Pierce. So it was like, cool.
And Retaliate.
And Retaliate. Oh, yeah, the Retaliate.
Yeah, the Retaliate's the part that makes it not worth risking trying to hit them. Like, if you're hitting, because they've got 4 shields,
retaliate.
Right? Yeah, so it's even worse.
Yeah.
Because I think I was in a situation, because that's why someone was like, I just may as well have a go. I'm like, it's got 2 shields. I'm hitting for 2, right? Like, I need a plus to do damage, and if I don't, I'm just taking 3 damage. Like, it's not worth it. So, yeah, those ones are tricky if you don't have pure damage, which we did have a little bit of. Although I did misread one of my cards, which was really bad.
What do you mean?
So one of the crab cards is that I have is like, do damage equal to a creature's shield, right? So
like the Claw Crushers.
Yeah, exactly. Like the claw. Yeah. So when I was looking at them, they've got 5. Okay, so they had 4 shields and 5 health. And so that's why when we got in, I'm like, can you do 1 damage to 1? And you're like, yeah, I can push it around and go through the difficult terrain because you dropped your difficult terrain. Yeah. And I can do 1 damage that way. And you did, right? I think you did 3, which was awesome. And then I was like, great, yeah, no problem. It's my turn. And I played my cards down, and it's like, oh no. And Mark's like, what? I'm like, okay, so look at this situation, right? It's got 4 shields, it's got 3 health. Let me read the card. And the card says something like, deal damage to a creature equal to the amount of shields. He's like, that's great. I'm like, that is great, right? Perfect card for this situation. He's like, yeah, it is. Cool. Words are important. Let's add 1 word in the middle of that. Normal.
Oh,
Not
yes.
elite, not elite. So normal, and I'm like, cool. Now it's not great because these are
No.
elite. So that was like,
Is it a level 1 card?
yeah, it would be,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Which I mean, yeah, I mean it's fine.
You're
I feel
probably
like
getting the
it could
elite
be
one
elite.
later.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I was just like, man, that felt really bad.
yeah,
So, but I'm glad I picked it up and didn't just like run with it and realize it 3 scenarios later. Like,
true.
oh, I haven't really been paying attention to that. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, so changed what I did slightly. But yeah, getting through those shields was tricky in pieces.
yeah. It got to the point where I was just like, you know what, screw this, and I played the push 4 card and punted him
Mm.
into the corner of the room. And Phil actually lost the Earth Demon. I don't know if we killed it or not. I think we
Yeah, I
killed
think
it.
we killed it.
And moved to a position near the imps and went full sacrifice again. Whereas like he was going full hurdle. Like, I'm gonna stand here and just get the runes. Get the runes. I'm gonna stand here. And the Earth Demon, sorry, the Fire Demon, Flame Demon that was in the corner of the room that I punted, we kept
Mm.
having these giant rounds where it was going to do massive AoE and all that, but it was always like a range 3 or 4. So it just kept
Mm.
nailing into Phil. And I think Phil was standing on a shadow or something. He did really well.
Yeah, yeah, no, he did. In the end, like he didn't exhaust, and he survived quite a while. Like I think he just went conservative, and he might have used a couple of his big cards, but he did a big attack towards the end. So
That's what I mean is I'm really impressed with how much he adapted. He played a different style where he was like, you know, I'm not going full assassination the way I normally do. He just played a completely different style, like
mm,
a negating style. It worked. I was so proud of him. He absolutely smashed, you know, it in
mm.
a different way to what I'm normally expecting from him.
Yeah, and that's one of the things with this game, right? It's that you sometimes, as a player, you get dealt a bad set of circumstances that maybe you had influence over, maybe you didn't, whatever, and you might be a few cards behind, and you need to go, all right, well, there's still 3 other players, so I just need to work out how do I still continue to contribute, right? Like just because I've burnt 2 cards early in the game when I didn't want to, doesn't mean I now have to go out in a blaze of glory.
Mm,
Because that's kind of what I did, like in that third or fourth scenario, when I was like, "Oh, I'm going to try and get my mastery," right?
mm,
Because I'd already, I was kind of like at that stage, I needed to go the other way and go, "No, no, no, I have to play more conservatively now, and maybe try to not have as much of an input, but that way I can still be there at the end." And
yeah.
he had some pretty big turns at the end that allowed us to win. If he just gone like, "No, I'm just going to burn everything and just like be done in 2 turns." I feel like that end part becomes a lot harder.
Mm. No,
So yeah, you're right. It's a like a lesson to be learned.
it is. And then that's why, yeah, I just needed him to know. Like, it's so funny because he was asking me just before. No, I was asking. He was messaging the group, the other game group, and just saying, "Hey, no games this weekend. I'm going in for a medical thing." So I messaged him. I just said, "Hey, are you all right? Is everything okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just a shoulder thing. I'm just having a bit of pain, a bit of problems." And I was like, "Oh, "That's from carrying us, isn't it?" So, yeah, I didn't get a response, so I don't know whether or not.
So now he's unfriended you. Yeah,
Well,
we
I
won't
don't
see
know
Phil
if
anymore.
he just believes me because the ratio of crap I give him versus compliments.
So you think he's going to take those sarcastic uh, joke compliments as just like 100% real compliments because he feels he's not getting enough?
Maybe, but you can't
Yeah.
also
Okay.
convey tone over text. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Who knows? And he's from New Zealand, so maybe he didn't really understand it anyway.
No, no. So, a couple other things that happened during this while we were running around and collecting the runes. We were definitely planning and organizing how we were going to do this in what order. And every time we flipped one, how we were going to deal with the creature. And this is kind of when I said, well, we have to, we're playing very carefully and very conservatively, which is good. But also, if we keep playing at this rate, we're probably going to run out of cards before we solve it. That was the only thing that was worrying me in my mind was that we're sort of, you know, I'm like, oh, should I go pop this one? Oh, not yet, not yet. You know, and you were the same, and Mark as well. And it wasn't until we had a better grip of the imps were under control from the pets and Phil. Phil was still alive and distracting the other ones. I was punting things around the room, which was so much fun, by the way. Just I like it got to the point where towards the end I was like, screw it, I'm popping one of my own runes. I stood on something and then just flicked it really far away. And I had my first foray into playing with hazardous terrain, which was really fun. I had 2 set up, and then I was pulling stuff through and pushing them through, and they were taking so much damage. And we had cold therapy or chilling impact. That's the one that does 1 damage when I push and pull, provided I eat ice, which I did mention multiple times. I fucking love ice, and everyone thinks I have an issue. And there was a hilarious moment where we had a tile with hazardous terrain and like 4 pieces of loot and a shadow, but they were all like sliced on top of each other like a giant burger.
Yeah.
And we were like, who's going to go in there? Like, you're only taking 2 damage, but who's going to go in there to get the loot tokens? Because they're all sitting on the hazardous terrain. Because I keep pulling stuff into it.
Yeah, because it was that center area with all the imps spawning. So they just kept spawning around us. And between the skeletons, and I was hanging out there killing some. And yeah, you were pushing and pulling things in. Yeah, there was just all these loot tokens there.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And it was delicious when I ate it all.
Yeah, you have a loot 1, right? You went in there.
Yeah, I had a loot 1, and I'm like, yep, I'm gonna do this. And I think I got like 7 tokens out of it or something, 6 tokens.
No random item though.
No random item. We didn't check if it was in it.
No idea.
But it probably was.
So Markin then you came up with a plan where he was going to basically pop a giant run with, I think, my +2 or something, and he was just going to basically pop a bunch and then with a move, and then hopefully the numbers are kind. I think we worked out the math. It was fairly good. In fact, if anything, there was one near me where we pulled 2 relatively small numbers, and we were just hoping that the third one I pick up wasn't going to be a large one, and it was fine. So yeah, we went in and pulled the rest. It was a fairly anticlimactic ending, but it felt good to solve a puzzle and deal with a scenario that seemed like it could be quite tricky.
Yeah, like this is one of those ones that it wasn't super hard, and it had its moments where we had to work things out. But I think it felt rewarding because we got to figure out the puzzle. Like it's like any puzzle, right? Like it's hard until you figure it out, and it's not hard anymore. And that's what this one was. It was dealing with the wave. We did take it kind of conservatively, and we only really had 1 of the demons out at a time. While we only had like maybe 2 at 3 at most of the imps out. So we just did a really good job of the plan, which was to keep as minimal amount of things on the board as possible, and then get to a point where we could just go zip around.
Yeah, and just finish
which was
it off.
Kind of clearing one side of it. Your punting of the fire demons as well couldn't be understated in that, because we got them to a position where they couldn't do anything. Like they had 2 or 3 turns where they just didn't pull move cards. So they're doing these big attacks, but they're just not in targets.
Which makes sense for them, because you kind of want them to die in a standard scenario, like a kill-all scenario. But you need to get close, and they don't care if you're not close or not. They're just going to stand there and start, what are you going to do?
Yeah. So that all worked, but that's what I thought was cool. It was a fun scenario that we got to kind of all do our thing, and we got to kind of figure out the puzzle and solve it.
So it's refreshing. Like, I really like this scenario. I'm not in the rush to do it again or anything that's too similar to it. I don't know what it is. I think it's the puzzle element of it. I'm relieved that it's over, and in turn, I look back at it fondly, as it was really, really fun. I think it's because the first time also, well, it's the third time that I have played the Snowflake and really understood the timing of the elements. There was not really a position where I was stuck for an element. I always seem to have something up, because I'm getting used to planning it, going from drifting and never having any to losing my ice buddy, and now having to rely on myself for, ice and air. It was.
You wonder why we think he has a problem?
No, just be able to do all that. It felt good. So it felt like it was like a real breakthrough scenario for me, which was really, really good. I want to know what your thoughts were on being a crab.
Oh, it's heaps of fun. I think I'm really going to enjoy this. I kind of didn't do heaps because I got stuck a little bit.
You were in the first room for a little while before you joined us in the other.
But like what I was saying after the scenario is it's not so bad. So one of the things I think is a really cool component of the mechanism, and for people who haven't played the crab, basically in a nutshell, you have these cards, it's like half of your cards, where one half of it will be a tide card. And essentially what that means is you play it. It doesn't really do anything, but it gives you like a permanent buff. It's like a persistent card, but it goes out, and then when you rest, all your tide cards come back. Like, so it will just like they all get shuffled back in. So you kind of you build up this power base, and then you rest, and then it kind of all goes away, and you have to start again. And that's going to be cool to again figure out how much you want to get out and do that. But what was cool was when I got stuck, I was like, okay, I can't make that move because I don't have like a move 6 and get through all this. I'll just play a top and bottom tide card. So instead of burning 2 cards, essentially, well, burn's the wrong word. Instead of discarding 2 cards, basically because I couldn't get anywhere, I was able to just go, I'll just buff myself, which worked because that combined with one that I had, which was however many tide cards that come out, I get to heal. So I think like the next turn I moved up, and then I rested and got like basically went back to full health.
Yeah, okay.
So that was a cool part of even though I got stuck behind, it didn't really make a massive difference.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
So
But yeah, the other cards that it's felt okay so far. Like nothing seems like super busted. I did play really conservatively. Like I, the battle goal I had was only rest when you have 0 cards in your hand as well. So that also meant that I was pushing myself all the way through to the end of my thing. But I didn't really burn any cards until the end. So yeah, I'm keen to see how hard I can push it.
one of the key mechanics, there's the tide mechanic with Coral, and the other one is you make your own difficult terrain. What is that built into the character, or is that more like My Hazardous, where it's like very optional? Because you didn't do any of that. So
Yeah,
like, how many abilities chain off that in a way?
I think I've got. I'm only being level 2, right? So I've just got the base cards. Yeah, I think you have 12 as Coral. I think that I could probably have chosen 2, 3 cards that maybe interact with creatures on water. Maybe 4. There might be one where I'm just trying to remember where I'm standing on water and it does something as well. So there's definitely a few, and there's probably about the same amount, about 3 or 4 that let me create water. But I looked through and I'm like, I'm just going to get a feel for how these other cards work first before I start plonking down terrain that's going to get in people's way. Because the problem is that there is one card that you've got where you get to move some. So, you can kind of put it down and then move it around. But for the most part, I feel like I want to have a better idea about what I'm going to get out of that.
Like, yeah, I'm just trying to think. It's not the worst thing in the world to have a lot of that down, because so many of my abilities can help push, pull, or even move allies, and of course, give them jump as well. So maybe something that we naturally can move around and get around, so that you can really unleash your full floodage.
Yeah, well, I think when I've got some cards that look like they will be really good to combine with the water, I think I'll change my hand around a little bit and start doing it a bit more.
Would you say, and this is a throwback, would you say that it has a feeling, with all the tide options and all of that, like a jack of all trades?
Not at all. What do you
Okay.
mean?
So with my hand and playstyle, we can go a push, pull, control-y kind of thing, or a bit more supporty, healy kind of thing. What do you do?
I think it's tanky
Okay.
damage.
Okay.
Doesn't seem to be a lot of status effects. I think there's one that did poison, and that was probably about it. It's lots of. Well, again, I'm only basing this on the level 1 cards
Yeah, of
and one at
course.
level 2. But it's some decent hits, some tankiness, and messing around with the elements.
Okay.
Like, because the tide cards, just for example, like a couple of the ones that I thought were quite good. It's like one of them is anytime you move, you get +1 to your movement. Another one is, you just get 1 shield. So, and there's just other ones that kind of build up. So I think that the cards are kind of average, but then they'll get buffed by these passive abilities that you're going to kind of constantly having.
Okay. And then finally, these are all just coming to me. And then finally, the cards that you didn't pick, like the ones that you brought along with you. they would be probably they're the ones that you wanted to flesh out, or just on paper they just seem like the other ones weren't that good, because we all have those kind of cards that maybe seem super situational or whatever. Do you see yourself swapping a few
Well,
in and out?
yeah, the one that I thought did damage equal to shields, but then figured out it's only on normals, is probably going to get binned for a bit. But I think the bottom of that was okay. The bottom of it was like everything next to you has the -1 shields for a turn, which again is okay and super situational. So because it relies on me going early, which a lot of the cards are not early. So it kind of
Yeah, your initiative average is not quite
really
bone shaper, but it's up there.
yeah, it's really slow. There's a couple of fast ones because you need fast for things like shield and retaliate, which there's a couple of, but for the most part, yeah, it's pretty slow. So, yeah, so I'll probably swap that one out and have a look at some of the other ones. The other thing as well is it's hard because I've come from the Geminate, in which case the Geminate was really, and it took me ages to get into the swing of it because it was kind of against my normal play style in, let's say, Gloomhaven, in that I tend to play more conservative and then kind of ramp into, like look for opportunities to, play a burn card. Whereas the Geminate was like, nah, just burn cards all the time. Like you have to. And so it kind of took ages for me to get that right balance. And now playing this one, I've gone like super conservative. I'm not burning anything for nothing.
Yeah.
So now I need to kind of, I guess, reassess what I can do, how tanky I actually am, how much I can get into the front line, stuff like that.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, I wrote a note here when we were playing, sometimes to assist me with remembering key things that happened. And I wrote down, Gaz asks Deddy to help him move, says doesn't have legs. Mark pipes up and says, weren't you meant to be excited now that you can play any card and yet you're struggling to move?
I wasn't struggling to move. I just wanted you to move me so that I could use 2 other cards.
Yeah, okay, because you were very excited, right? And you were excited. Now you can do what everyone does. You've got a whole hand. You can pick any card you want, and yet you can't move.
It was fucking amazing. I loved it. Like, it was incredible. They really was. And because of that, I was looking and going like, okay, cool. What can I do? I can move. I can attack. Do whatever in whatever order I want. I can buff. I can just pick a card, any card, and that's the card I can play. So it was cool. It definitely felt a lot more freedom with my choices, which meant for that reason, that's why I was like, can you move me? Because I'm like, well, if you can move me, then I can choose like multiple attack cards.
You know, it's interesting because you mentioned that and asking if I can move you. And I remember last scenario in person just saying, by the way, guys, like I can move you and I can add to your movement. I can push you, but you just let me know. I can help set things up. So people are now doing that, and I'm like, nah. Like, no.
Yeah, well, because you're like, oh no, not this turn, because I'm actually just going to jump right in the hell pit. Like I'm trying to see if I can just kill myself in one turn.
Yeah.
And then if I'm still alive, maybe I can move you later. Because that's what you did. What happened was you didn't do it on the first turn, and then I moved up next to the monsters. And you're like, all right, guys, I'm going to give you move and jump. And I'm like, cool. I'm exactly where I want to be. Guess I won't be making use of that. So. Yeah, we'll see if we can line up the abilities a little bit better.
All right. Well, so far, it's good for Crab and Flake activity there. They are synergizing amazingly. Battle goals. So Gaz already mentioned he had one called Accountant. Have 0 cards in your hand each time you rest. I wonder how much that would mess me up in the head. You'd have to play a lost card once you get down to uneven hand sizes, right? And what if you don't? I guess you're forced to.
So, like, that's usually the type of card I don't take because I don't like being told when I can and can't rest, in a sense.
How does that work with Geminate? I haven't seen this card before.
Neither did I. Oh, there's no way I would have chosen it with a Geminate. Like, that would have been... Nah, because that would have been possible.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no, that would have... I mean, like, again, unless
it means active hand, but there would have to be a Geminate caveat, right?
No, well, they cards in your Geminate hand are all in one hand. They don't. I
There you
just
go.
played it as two
Yeah.
separately so that I could not get them confused. But yeah, the no, that was would have been a pain. The only reason I took it, I think my other two were really bad. And I was like, I can't do those. And I had started with 12. So I'm like, okay, I've got 12. I just know that I just rest once I run out of cards. And then the next thing, I discarded one, and then I just burn a card before my next rest. So I was like, okay, once I do that, I'm good. What would have messed me up is if I had taken damage and had to burn a card.
Yeah, mitigate.
Discarding, that would have been the part, especially towards the end of my hand.
Yeah.
That's what would have caught me out. So
Yeah. Okay. Phil had Executioner again. Except this time he passed. Kill an undamaged enemy with a single attack action. And I think it's because we had Black Imps. Who are on the squish side. Mark had Pickpocket. Collect 2 or more loot tokens by performing a loot ability while adjacent to 1 or more enemies. Which I believed he got.
yeah, because he did it in a really clever way as well.
Yeah.
Because he can use his summons to loot.
That's right. That's right. When he does that, it's always really good. Like it's always an amazing loot as well.
Because his summons are always like right in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, and this skeleton's going to perform a loot action, and it's like, oh wow, it's like a vacuum. Like, yeah.
No, I don't really do that anymore. Unfortunately, my loot card's a bottom card.
Same. You just got to be in the thick of it.
Yeah, but my Drifter one was a move one, and also healed me.
Yeah, that was good.
I had Peacemonger, which I'm really glad we got out of the way because that's a horrible one. But I'm also tickless, so
Is Peacemonger don't kill anything?
no, it is never kill an enemy.
That's don't kill anything.
Yeah,
the
but
same thing.
the
Dude. I feel like
intention's
you've been choosing this battle goal for 25 scenarios.
Whoa, I have not. But
No. I think the jokes were early yeah.
I think we were talking about ones like this a while back, and it was like, oh, there'll be a squishy range support with a pet that might suit that kind of battle goal. And I must say, in previous scenarios that we've done, I do struggle to kill things, but this time I had that many opportunities to do a fair bit of damage and kill just from the traps and also the hazardous terrain, especially with the flame guys, right? They're low health. The pull is pure. The hazardous is pure. Like, there are ways around it. And I just spent so much time calculating to make sure I didn't kill anything. It was really tricky because I was desperate for those ticks. Now, obviously, if we were, in jeopardy of ruining the scenario, I would have done something about it. But right from the get-go, like, you or Phil, it might have been Phil, actually jumped straight to the end and killed the elite, like, hit the elite Shriek Fiend, who started on 16. I remember these numbers because of this bloody battle goal. He had 16 health. And all I can think about was, cool, we got 2 traps there. I want to get him through 2 traps. They're both 5 each. And I just need to not hit him too hard with my 1 attack, right? And that was part of the push-pull kind of thing. And Phil took him down to 11. So then I had to work out another way. And I think it was a vortex. It was like a vortex where I pick a spot and pull it through those kind of spots. And that worked. And
That's
I got him down to 1
card,
health.
by the way.
Oh, that I only just got that. It's my level 3.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
really cool. Pick a spot and everything within range 3 moves 2 towards that spot, which is going to be really great for areas you want them and get them close to you and all that kind of stuff. And it's like a way for me to control my pull, which is really good because, like I said, positioning is everything. And sometimes I just can't line up my positioning properly. This solves that, which is great. So, yeah, never kill an enemy. I got that. I got my 2 ticks. Very happy. Very, very, very happy. All right, so now that we're on a video, everyone can see I'm holding a piece of paper with all our damage and numbers.
Our really sophisticated damage meter.
Okay.
Oh wait, before we do that,
yeah,
one segment that we've been talking about running is Phil Watch, and when was the last time he drew a miss?
that's correct.
Yeah,
That
we
was
are now
this
0
scenario.
weeks. Yeah, 0 weeks since Phil pulled a miss.
Phil has missed.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, like, the miss is coming out now that we're tracking it. And it's not like we missed them before. We would have known. I swear he
100%.
hasn't missed in months.
No.
But since we've started tracking it, I've been putting it in the notes on the episodes. I'm just like, how many weeks it's been since Phil's missed. He's now missed again. So
Mm.
we're back to 0.
What happened? I think it was 2 weeks ago. Was the first time we've seen it in a really long time, like really long time. And we made the joke. It's like, oh, it's clearly a bug in this game.
Mm,
Like, what's this? We need to patch this out. Hopefully, they hotfix your miss back out of your deck.
mm. And the one
Because
that happened 2 weeks ago, whenever it happened, he
mm,
actually had strengthen or something. So he didn't even count the miss.
well, that was that. Well, that miss was what he drew. He had strengthened this time.
Oh, was it this time?
Because no, he had advantage. I think he had advantage because he used his spyglass thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But either way, yeah, he drew his
He
miss
still
and it
drew
didn't
it.
count. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Still
So
lucky. Anyway, he's crossed out Deathwalker on the list and he's written down Super Phil, which is I've only just noticed. And then we have crossed out Geminate's Gaz, Bone Shaper's Mark, and then Drifter's Daddy. Drifter's not even crossed out. Everything else is. What are you doing with your consistency, Phil? All right. So damage done. Deathwalker did 71. Despite getting his ass handed to him, that's still a really good number.
oh, it's huge.
Like an
yeah.
insane number.
Yeah.
And no Bane. Because he's
Yes,
not
that's
tracking
true.
it. Yeah.
true.
71 without a Bane on a scenario where you don't have to kill everything. Like, good job, Phil. Really good job. You got some little numbers in there, but that's okay. Gaz, 33. Not bad for a new crab.
Yeah, it's all right.
Gee, I didn't really notice any of that.
Oh, I drew like a champion. Like my modified deck is just super vanilla, right? Like I've got like one perk. So
Yeah, but your Geminates is not vanilla and it looks super vanilla.
no, but my Geminates was like a pack of Skittles, right? Like you could just taste the rainbow. You just see it after 5 or 6 rounds. It's like every color you
Pack
could
of
have.
Skittles where they have too much red, just a little bit too much red.
Yeah, when they come up at the worst time. So this one I just kept like a crit. I was drawing my pluses. I was like, this is amazing. I drew my extra target one and it didn't have a target for it. Or I did, but I didn't want to punch the flame demon. So
Oh, yeah.
if I keep drawing like Phil, I'm gonna love this character.
No, well, no, you got 33, so that's pretty good. Mark did 55 with pets.
Solid. Mhm.
Very solid. Like, really solid. Like, that's really good. So well done, Mark. And I ended up on 24
Nice.
and 6. So 6 of them were, I only had 6 rows. So I hit for 10. Oh, that's the double trap.
Yeah. Yep.
Double trap. All right, damage taken. Phil, 31. Oh,
That's got to be a new high for him, doesn't
I
it?
think so. He discarded 18 health worth of cards. I think it was 4. He discarded 4 cards.
So you can pinpoint the part where his knight started getting shit, right?
I don't know
Like
if
right
that's... Oh, that's 31. Yeah, it was around there. Like, he just copped it after going into that room. So he started off really well, had a really rough mid game, a really strong late game. So well done to him. Gaz, as a crab, it says... Jesus, did you discard...
Yeah,
towards
at the
of
end.
that?
Yeah, the very last turn, I think I was on low life, and there was lots of imps, and they were all hitting me, and I was like, "Well, we're gonna win. It's fine."
Yeah, okay.
Not that I could have done anything about it, but it was like discarding a card for every time I
You
got
took
attacked.
2 and negated. You took 4 and negated. You took 1 and negated. Like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
altogether it was 36 minus 6. So, sorry, 30 minus 6. So yeah, no, it's not bad for a first time crab. Jack of all trades. Marks I can't really read. 30 minus 4 for the pets. 10 minus 5, and then he's got 16 in brackets. So it's just a lot of numbers. And I took 17. So yep, I had a rough start, but after that I really was not in any kind of trouble. And then healing, Death Walker 9. So he's actually did all his healing. He's done his pots. He's done his poison one and all that. So he's actually added all of that in there. Now, do you heal? Oh, you do. Yeah, it's on 12.
Yep.
Yeah, he didn't write it in the column down the bottom. Because in my head, I was just like, oh, what, does the coral heal much? Is it more
I've got a couple
self-heal?
of yeah, it's all self heal. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's handy. Mark with 24. That's a lot of healing.
Mm.
Oh, he's counting in the ones when he plays a late initiative card from the item he has. Interesting. And
Oh
then,
yeah,
I
that's
did
an
8.
amazing item. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it works really well from him, especially when he's going relatively slowly.
How much did you heal for?
8.
8.
I had a massive regen that was ticking on for the whole thing. I think I healed like 30.
Okay, all right.
All right, this is not one where I concentrated much on healing. I must say though, I did put 2 persistence. So in the past, I've always chosen one or the other. I actually went with both. It was the turning point was Phil getting immobilized and getting wailed into, and I was like, I need to really change this up a little bit and get him up. Which is when I started to use the ice instead and any windows generating to pump him up with the little 2s, and as well as the regen one, whatever I had at the time before, he ran off. So, yeah, I think it should be more than that, Phil, but maybe I didn't look at him in the eye. Look, every week it feels that way, so I should
You gotta
probably...
look him in the eyes. Look him in the eyes and tell him the damage or healing that you're doing. Otherwise, he doesn't record
I
it.
can't. I'm doing too many other things, like cracking the sads. Is there anything lastly you want to say about Scenario 33?
Yeah, it was fun. I liked it. It was cool seeing some of the old school monsters, and you're right, it had like a little bit of a puzzle aspect. I like that we could control a little bit of how it came out, because I feel like this could have been another unlimited spawn one. Like, here are all the things you have to get to these places while everything just spawns around you, and that again would have just been an unfun like admin fest. So I'm glad we didn't get that.
Yeah, well, the problem with those ones are the unlimited spawns happening, and you need to obtain some objective, in the meantime while that's happening. But then, because of all the spawns, you're blocked. They're all taking up spaces, and then you're freaking out, and then you're trying to deal with them and damage while you're also running. This was more like, who wants to touch it? All right, everyone get ready. Touch. All right. Bah! And then, we all pounced on top of it, and then it was rinse and repeat, right? So, no, that was really, really cool.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say about that was that I could have seen a mechanic working okay that like every other round, like every odd round, one of the tiles would flip, like whoever had the lowest initiative or something like that,
Like
just
the
to
nearest
keep
one.
Yeah, just to keep it moving forward, because
Yeah.
you did have that ability to just not do anything and just have one out. Now you're always going to have the imp spawn, but yeah, that's the only part, kind of back the other way I could see it going, is just say, hey, one's going to flip up. If one hasn't flipped up, one will flip up, right? And kind of keep it going by that. But no, I had fun. I liked it.
Maybe they should have had, like, when you flip it over, whatever the token number is, you do half round it up, and that's how much damage you take every time you're within range of it.
That sounds terrible.
Like a hazardous terrain thing. Well, they're hot. It's hot, Gaz.
Oh, okay.
You see what happens to a crab when it's hot? Yum, 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 yum.
Yum, 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 yum. Yeah. Do you know what happens to a snowflake when it's hot?
It melts.
Yeah, it's sad face, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So we leave 33. We head back to Frosthaven again. We have another outpost phase.
Uneventful.
We got attacked.
Yep. We made a decision between like helping and like helping. It was...
Did we, at the end of this scenario, also gain a time thing, like in a few weeks from now? I had to get something written down, and Phil decided to be the first one to write it down because you were occupied at the time, and he wrote it in the middle of summer. And it was kind of like, oh, wow, summer's really close. And then you were like, no, it's not. And you had to erase, and he's like, so confused.
It's
like,
not how you count, Phil. That's yeah. No wonder. No wonder our damage meter is always so far out. I think it was it might have been at the end of the...
Because it would have to continue the lurker one, right?
For what?
This is a continuation of the lurker quest chain.
Right?
Oh
yeah, I think the thing we wrote down, it was Pinto's like, come back to me in a few days because we'll have a
it's interesting.
We'll have your submarine ready.
We went back to him for that, and then at the same time he's like, oh, by the way, the highway's all good to go, and blah blah. Yeah, so we've unlocked the third one in Pinter's pylon bonanza. And I think that's what's happening next week. I think it's 116.
I think we'll do that one. Yeah, I think it finishes off that kind of quest chain and makes sense. So I think we've got to help wagons get through or do something with... I don't know.
That's true.
Guard some... I think we have to guard some wagons.
Yeah, and if the whole purpose of the highways, because they helps trade and all that kind of stuff, there could be like a shop opening or something, or maybe that same guy with the same wares will come back. Because he's got a few items I really want, actually. So
yeah, I have. Yeah, That's a good point as well. So, but we did get a was it? Yeah, like was what was that for? Was
Okay.
that the Outpost event?
No.
What was that
No.
for?
All right. So we're
Oh,
gonna.
that's are we doing a
I'm gonna do just a
spoiler?
mini thing just here. Yeah, yeah. So we upgraded one of the buildings that we
Yeah.
had, and we had to choose. And Gaz made a point. It's like we should probably, because we spent a fair bit of money upgrading something. Gaz realized that a lot of the resources, things are gonna start getting expensive when we start upgrading buildings and we start building new
Mm.
ones. Our resources, which we've stockpiled, it just chunks. All right, chunks down a
Mm.
fair bit. So we're like, we should just get one of the like either the lumber mill one or the mining one or the other one. And we upgraded the mining camp, whatever that one is. And you get your sticker, you upgrade it, and you read a section, and you get your prosperity. Okay, and we're like, oh, I wonder what this is going to do, etc. The section had a Savas. So it's like you're mining a new area or something, and you're
Mm.
hitting away, and all of a sudden, a hand bursts out of the vein you're smashing, and there's a whole bunch of heat, and the scary Savas voice cracks open, and is like, oh, blah 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 blah. Do you need a mate? Like, do you wanna be
Pretty much.
friends?
He's like, I've been waiting for you, and he's like, oh, now I'm gonna go out and make sure, see if I have been challenged or something like that, like prove myself to the world.
Yeah, top 100 in
Yeah.
hardcore or something like that. Like he
Yeah.
just really wanted to do that. Do you guys need Do you guys need a meteor class?
Yeah.
So, and immediately Phil had already left. He was making sure that he was getting brownie points and all
Home
that
in
kind
time.
of stuff. Home in time.
Yeah.
And I sent him a message because Phil hasn't retired yet, as you know. He's
Mm.
still waiting to see what's going to happen. And I messaged him
I
and said,
thi-
"Dude, we got a meteor."
Yeah, I think his words were like, "Oh, I'll," because he has one that he can control now. Like he can kind of choose when he
Yeah,
wants to do it. So I think he was like, "No, I'm just gonna wait and play this for a bit, and when something cool comes up."
yeah.
So
So I think he's
I'm not.
100% picking this.
Yeah, I feel like he
And
would be.
from the wording of it, Savasa generally the elemental,
Mm.
the thing from Fantastic Four, like the
Yeah,
elemental of those, and it looks like a fire mage or something along those lines.
100% it does. Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a meteor, right? It's a fire Savas.
yeah.
So
Which I did point out to him. He did say in his interview episode, something bug and tunky or something like that was what he wanted, and this is like the complete opposite of that. So
maybe
he's
because I stole his coral.
maybe, maybe, but no, like it'd be interesting to see whether or not he also has hinted that he wants to hit level 9.
Yeah, he does want to play it for a bit, I think so. And he may as well. I mean, like I might have mentioned this last time. We need to stagger the retirements a little bit because you've just hit 3,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm 2. I think I'm gonna have to hammer a scenario to try and get enough XP to hit 3. And it's not so much the cards, but it's the HP
Mm.
because you need it hasn't dropped down the difficulty that much. Like things are still hitting really hard, and I think I started with I've got like 12 HP or something like that, and I've got like the second most HP.
Yeah, you do.
I'm level 2,
Yeah.
so I think that when you yeah, I don't think that this Fire Savas is going to be a tank. So it
Probably
might
not.
be. But yeah, so I think it's a good idea to slightly stagger them if we have the opportunity to. But yeah, I guess it's up to him in the end. So
Yeah. The last thing, just very quickly, last week I alluded to the fact that we were going to be tackling Phil's solo scenario. We did that 3 times before we did our actual scenario 33, and he failed all 3 times, everyone. Phil went in incredibly cocky and very confident. He was like, oh, it's like a TD. I just sit in the middle and I kill everything. Now, the solo scenario for Deathwalkers involves black imps that are spawning on a timer and night demons.
Night Demons.
And yeah, hilarious watching him go back and forth and trying to. Now, his very first attempt, oh my God, he was close. He ended up with 2 black imps before he ran out of cards. And then like it's so funny watching him commentate on what he's doing, and I was sitting there watching him do it, and it was hilarious. There's a part where he can either take the hit or the thing he's protecting can take the hit, and he's like, oh yeah, no, let that have it, like I'm not doing it. And I'm like, yeah, this is very reminiscent of how you play with us. So yeah, it was funny to watch him do it. He got some XP out of it, and I don't know if he learned anything from it, but no, he seems really determined to go again. These things look really hard, and I'm really looking forward to seeing when Gaz does his crab one, and I do a snowflake one, and just see how long it's going to be before we actually can complete these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Amdirt, episode 24. We'll be back next week where I think we'll tackle scenario 116 and finally finish off Pinter's adventures in Blow Up Pylon Land. If you want to contact us, you can contact us via email at contact@rollingterribly.com, and we are found on Instagram at am_dirt and Twitter at umdirt. We are also firing up the YouTube again, something we dabbled in a little bit. It's going to put a little bit more content. I mean, the audio episodes are going up there, which people, if you've gotten this far, already listened to, so there's nothing new there. But actually, what people don't realize is that we're actually recording this one with video to go on the YouTube just to see kind of how it looks and how it feels. So if you feel like that, we are YouTube/@Amdirt. Thank you very much again for listening to us. I've been Deddy. I've been joined again by Gaz.
And remember, when it comes to rolling terribly, it's better when you're a crab.